endless vitality. This type of immortality allows a character to survive indefinitely because their life energy never decreases or runs out. Their body never reaches a failure state, never shuts down, and never collapses, essentially turning their biological existence into a system with infinite fuel and absolutely no expiration date. A clear example is Hidan, who can remain talkative and fully conscious even after being decapitated, as his vitality doesn't depend on oxygen or blood flow, but on a constant ritualistic energy. Weakness, physical incapacitation. Since they cannot die but still have a physical form, being buried alive, sealed in concrete, or dismembered and scattered makes their infinite life a permanent, waking nightmare. Type 2, longevity. Allows characters to live forever by making their body completely immune to aging and disease. This allows them to remain physically stable for thousands or even millions of years, maintaining their prime condition throughout the eons without their cells ever degrading. Tolkien's elves are the golden standard. They can witness the rise and fall of entire civilizations while appearing as young as they were on day one. Their bodies simply do not have a self-destruct timer built into their DNA. Weakness, conventional trauma. They are immortal, but not indestructible. A well-placed arrow, a terminal fall, or a blade through the heart will end their journey just as easily as it would for any mortal human. Type 3, resurrection. The character can return after death because their existence is bound to a force or mechanism that restores them automatically. Killing them does not end their story permanently. Instead, it creates a temporary delay before they inevitably reform and continue existing. Doomsday, DC Comics, personifies this relentless cycle. Every time he is killed, his body evolves and brings him back, specifically engineered to be immune to whatever force managed to take him down in his previous life. Weakness, permanent sealing or BFR, battlefield removal. Since killing them is only a temporary fix, the only way to win is to trap them in a dimension like the Phantom Zone or a state of stasis where they can never technically return to the world. Type 4, parasitic immortality. Survival is achieved by transferring consciousness, soul, or essence into new bodies whenever the current one is destroyed. For these beings, the physical form is merely a disposable container or a shell that can be replaced as often as necessary. Orochimaru from Naruto or Voldemort from Harry Potter master this by treating their bodies as software rather than hardware. If the current vessel is damaged, they simply upload themselves into a new, younger, or stronger host. Weakness, soul destruction or a lack of hosts. If their spirit is intercepted, trapped, or destroyed during the transfer process, or if all potential vessels are eliminated, the cycle is broken and they vanish forever. Type 5, post-death existence. This applies to characters who already exist beyond physical life as souls, spirits, or non-corporeal entities. They cannot die again because they have already crossed the boundary between life and death and now exist in a state where biological death has no authority over them. Example: Brook, One Piece, is a skeletal musician who returned to his body long after it decayed. Since he is essentially a soul inhabiting a pile of bones, he doesn't need air, food, or a pulse to stay active in the world of the living. Weakness, spiritual exorcism. While physical weapons might pass right through them or do little damage, they are highly vulnerable to conceptual or spiritual attacks, such as holy magic or powers that specifically target the soul. Type 6, protection-based immortality. Survival depends on a higher being, cosmic entity, or external force that actively prevents the character's permanent death. Any damage they suffer can be reversed or undone, making their survival dependent on something far more powerful than themselves. Example: the saints in Saint Seiya often survive wounds that should be instantly fatal because the divine wool of Athena or the protection of their cloths keeps their life force from extinguishing, defying the laws of physics and biology. Weakness, severing the connection. Their immortality is borrowed power. If the protecting deity is defeated, loses interest, or if the link between the being and the protector is blocked, the character returns to being a fragile mortal instantly. Type 7, death immunity. The character is completely immune to the very concept of death. Conventional forces, physical destruction, or even supernatural manipulation cannot eliminate them. They are effectively removed from the normal system where all living beings eventually reach an end. Example: Lobo was banned from both heaven and hell, effectively becoming too much trouble for the afterlife to handle. Because there is no place for his soul to go, the universe simply refuses to let him die, no matter what happens to him. Weakness, total erasure or conceptual manipulation. While they can't die, they can still be erased from existence by high-tier reality warpers who can delete them from the code of the universe entirely. Type 8, eternal existence. Beings that exist permanently across all of time. They were never truly created and cannot truly end, making their existence a constant element of reality itself rather than something temporary or dependent on physical survival. Example, Dr. Manhattan perceives the past, present, and future simultaneously. Since he exists as a quantum constant across the timeline, killing him in the present is meaningless, as he still exists in the past and the future as a fundamental part of the universe. Weakness. Higher dimensional intervention. They can only be truly affected or neutralized by beings that exist outside of their timeline or operate on a scale that transcends the reality they inhabit. Type 9. Linked immortality. The character survives as long as an external object, place, or concept continues to exist. Their physical destruction is irrelevant because their life is anchored somewhere else, far beyond their immediate form. Example, Sauron and the One Ring. As long as the ring exists, Sauron's essence is tethered to Middle-earth. You can destroy his physical body, but he will always reform as long as his anchor remains intact. Weakness. Destruction of the anchor. The character's greatest strength is also their greatest vulnerability. If the object, location, or concept they are tied to is destroyed, they lose their connection to life and vanish instantly. Type 10. Absolute immortality. These beings are necessary pillars for reality itself to function. They cannot be removed, destroyed, or erased because they are not simply inhabitants of existence, but the actual structural components that hold existence together. Example, entities like the One Above All, Marvel. If such a being were to truly cease to exist, the entire multiverse would collapse into nothingness, because the entity and reality are one and the same. Weakness. None within their own reality. Their only theoretical weakness would be the literal author of the story or a force from a higher reality that can destroy their entire multiverse in one go. Type 11. Regeneration. Survival comes from the continuous and near-instantaneous repair of any damage the body suffers. This allows them to recover from injuries that would be fatal to anyone else, making it practically impossible to eliminate them through conventional physical combat. Example, Deadpool or Wolverine. They can be blown to pieces, incinerated, or crushed, and their cells will immediately begin to replicate and rebuild. As long as a single scrap of DNA remains, the character will eventually return to full health. Weakness. Complete molecular vaporization. If every single cell is destroyed at the exact same moment, leaving nothing to trigger the healing process, or if they are hit with anti-regeneration weapons, they can be killed permanently.